It's autumn, as you can see from the myriad of changing colours. I love this time of year. It's going to appeal to anyone with an artistic bent. But it is a very special time in the autumn. It is, in fact, the 11th of November. That means today is the day at 11 o'clock when we think about all the people across the globe, but particularly here in the UK, who have been affected by war, have given their lives, have made sacrifices to keep us all free, and made sacrifices for their king, their queen and their country. Now, very shortly, we're going to be heading down into Midsomer Norton to find out what's going on around the War Memorial leading up till 11 o'clock. But on the way, I want to take you to a very special place. This is St Chad's Well on the edge of Midsomer Norton here, the area known as the Islands. And up here is Somervale School, which used to be a big kind of stately pile, I think. And the local family were called Savage. And this well was put in that kind of marvellously Victorian, well-meaning but utterly dated from where we're coming from, intentions for the poor people of Midsomer Norton. And poverty, of course, would have been a real challenging issue of 19th century life here. So this has come in just shortly after the middle of the century, when you had the Crimean War. And this war memorial here is to the son of the household, a Mr. Savage, I assume, who died of his wounds sustained in the Crimean War, which took place in the 1850s. And when I first came here, Summer Valley FM's over there, and this is where I run my charity from now and ran the radio station for a bit. When I first came here, this wooden fence wasn't here. It had that sort of a metal type Victorian estate fencing that was very typical in the kind of immediate years of the Industrial Revolution. And I came down here to witness it being taken out, to rationalise all this with hedging and a wooden fence. And I possibly was the only person who recognised that history was moving on. This was all going to be private land, and now has been held over for the benefit of education. Somervale School was opened in the 1966. It's as old as I am. And there's a great story, by the way, of all the students of the day at Somervale School, which is based in the High Street, Midsomer Norton. And at the start of the autumn term, they all got up from their desks, led by the head boy, who I think, can't remember his first name, Mr. Bissix, and chairman of the local football club. He was I did an interview with him about this, and they led them all up here, and they went into the new classrooms just over the way. Still very much a centre of education now. And one of the things that we were doing in the summer was a project with young people, school kids, year 10, and getting them to kind of maybe appreciate a little bit more about the world that they occupy here, coming to school. And a number of them said they'd never noticed, well, they'd noticed this war memorial, but had no idea what it's about. So I'm drawing our attention to it here on the 11th of November, as nationally and globally all our reflections are around those who have given their lives and sacrifices to keep us free in democracy. Well, having paid our respects at this unusual, there are not many Crimean War memorials in the UK, but having paid our respects here and noted it, we're now going to go into the town and see what's actually happening at the town's war memorial as we come up to that 11th hour and the 2-minute silence. I've come down to the War Memorial here in Midsomer Norton. We're just coming up to the 11 o'clock hour, that famous 11th hour of the 11th month from the end of the First World War. A number of people are gathering, and of course there will be a larger crowd here on Sunday for Remembrance Day, but this is the actual commemorative day itself on Friday the 11th of November. And I'm joined by a number of people. Can you tell us what your role is?
I'm the chaplain for the British Legion. Name's James Ballaston Thick. I'm a retired parish priest, and I was in the TA for 22 years, looking after cadets mainly. So that's why I'm here. And we've been coming down here. I've been in Midsomer Norton since 1990 and been coming down every year since we arrived. So that's why I'm here, to remember those who gave their lives in the First World War and the Second World War, and in the wars since then.
Why is it important to actually come on the day itself as opposed to Remembrance Sunday?
Because we actually remember the time, 11th of the 11th, when the First World War actually finished, and people came home, and we remember those who gave their lives so that we could be here today, to remember those who the fallen and those who've served in Her Majesty's forces ever since.
And you have some medals yourself?
These are cadet medals, yeah, long service medals, and not being caught medals. But yeah, they're
not being caught.
Yeah, no, they're long service medals basically, and there's the Queen's Jubilee medal there as well.
I'm a member of the British Legion. I'm ex-Royal Navy. I've done 22 years. I'm just taken over the standard bearer for Midsomer Norton and Radstock branch of the British Legion.
So what's your role today?
I'm standard bearer, which is why I'm there. So 2 minutes silence, I'll dip the standard, and then after the 2 minutes silence, I'll bring the standard back up to salute.
And clearly, with your level of involvement, you'll have your own personal feelings during the silence. What will be your reflections?
Gulf War, which is 20 years anniversary next year, because I was obviously there. Personnel before me, personnel which are currently serving away overseas, personnel which are still suffering.
Good morning, sir. We're just before the 11 o'clock 2-minute silence. You're clearly ex-military personnel yourself. Why are you here today?
Well, obviously pay my respects to the fallen, both from World War One all the way through to the present day.
And what role have you played?
I was a Royal Engineer.
Okay. And did you serve in theatres of conflict?
I served after theatres of conflict. Falklands I did over a year after the conflict, bits in different tours. And I did Ireland, so I suppose Ireland was classed as a field of conflict. So.
Well, I'm here to remember old comrades who I've lost in my time in the forces, and also to pay my respects to those of World War One, World War Two, and all the rest. Since then, Korea and all over the place.
And you served in Korea, did you?
No. I served in Malaya and Borneo,
All right.
and BAO Army, and then again, of course, Northern Ireland.
And what will your reflections be during the silence?
Well, just remembering old friends. I lost, from the unit I was in, the regiment I was in, we lost 7 people in Northern Ireland. And that's always on my mind, and I put a cross there every year with the names on. That's on there.
Well, thank you very much for your time today. Have a good service. And you, sir, what brings you here today?
Because we can. We can get here. That's it, all I got to say. We can get here.
And remember the people who can't get here.
To right, every time.
Okay, and that will be your reflections during the 2-minute silence. Anyone in particular?
Not really, not one. All the boys, all gone. Them.
I used to be in the Royal Fleet Auxiliary, and I think it's important to remember those that have gone before us, so that we can be in the freedom and the relative peace, at least in our country, that we.
Will there be anyone particularly that you'll be thinking of during the 2 minutes reflection?
There were people that I knew that served in the Royal Fleet Auxiliary who did die, but they were before my time. But so it was 40 years ago now, isn't it? But,
well done for making an effort to be down here today. Luckily,
there is.
luckily the weather is keeping good for us. Was there something else to add?
Yes. My grandfather died today in 2006 or something. But anyway, he died today. His brother died in the war. So yes, there's. I mean, it's a pretty tenuous connection, but you know, it is a connection, and you know,
I think it's a good connection. Have a good service. Thanks for talking to us.
Let us commemorate and commend to the loving memory of our Heavenly Father, the Shepherd of souls, the giver of life everlasting, those who have died for our country in war, those whom we knew and whose memory we treasure, and all who have lived and died in the service of mankind. They shall grow not old, as we who are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
we will remember them.
Well, we've just had the 2-minute silence, and joining us today are children from Midsomer Norton Primary, and the head teacher is here today.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
And what's your name?
My name is Sarah Bess, and I'm the head of school at Midsomer Norton Primary.
Which is just over the way
up the
there.
hill, yeah.
Absolutely. And tell us why you're here today and why it's important for the children to be here.
Well, we always remember, obviously, every year, and I just think it's really important. We're right here, right in the centre of town, right by the memorial, and these are our school council, and they represent our school, and we thought it's fitting for us to come down and pay our respects and remember this along with everybody else.
And you're all carrying these rather smart crosses. Who can tell me why you're carrying them? Yes, you at the back here.
We are carrying them to place them down for the remembrance of the people who fought for us in the war.
And where are you going to be putting them?
We're going to be putting them behind those bars.
So next to the War Memorial. And did you want to say something?
Yes, I just wanted to say we put up the crosses and used the poppies because poppies are a sign of remembrance so that nobody will forget that people sacrificed their lives to give us freedom.
And why do you think it's important for children of your age to remember grown-ups past and present who have sacrificed their lives?
Because if we don't know about it, then we won't know about proper history, and it will be
Yeah, no, that's a pretty good answer. We need to know about history, don't we, so that we can understand it, and hopefully that will inform how we go forward, as well as remembering all those sacrifices. Is anyone else who'd like to speak to me who hasn't already? Yes.
It's also important to remember the people who died before us because they fought for our country, and it's really important that we celebrate that they were brave enough to go out there and fight, even though they knew it was a great risk.
Oh, thank you very much for that.
If those people hadn't sacrificed their lives, we probably wouldn't be here today.
Well, that's a great point, and a good point to end it. Is it kind of exciting being out of school today? All right, well, I'm sure your head teacher will want to get you back into the warmth of the classroom very soon. But in the meantime, thanks very much for talking to Summer Valley FM. Awesome talking to the children of Midsomer Norton Primary there, and thank them and everybody else I spoke to at the War Memorial for participating in this video. And I was asking everybody about their reflections, what they think about during that 2-minute silence. And for me, of course, it is an opportunity to think of my forebears. I had many ancestors in both world wars, from the Boer War right the way up to more recent conflicts. And I think of particularly my grandfather, who was at D-Day and then went back to reinvade Europe in 1944, was very much part of taking Caen from the defenders and liberating France, who then served in Palestine for 4 years, and not a pleasant task that was. He got married in 1939 but didn't live with his wife for 10 years until 1949. I think of my other grandfather, who remarkably survived Gallipoli in the First World War and was then a fighter ace on the Western Front in the Royal Flying Corps. Very, very lucky. I'm very lucky to be here. He was very lucky to survive the war, and that was partly because he was very lucky, but he was also very good at what he does. These are focusing my mind on my own gratitude for the life that I've had. So from this Remembrance Day special, that's it for Dom's Diary this week, but I'll see you back here very soon.